A new day begins, and with it, a new chance to choose differently. And just like millions of people around the world, you may have woken up with goals. Goals to exercise, goals to learn, goals to improve your health, goals to build a better future. The problem is not that people lack goals. The problem is that most people depend on motivation to achieve them. And motivation is unreliable. Some mornings you wake up energized, focused, ready to take action. Everything feels possible. You feel motivated. But then there are other mornings. Mornings when the alarm feels heavier, when your energy feels lower, when your goals feel distant, when doing nothing seems easier than doing something. And suddenly, the motivation is gone. This is where most people make a mistake. They believe successful people are successful because they stay motivated, but that's not true. Research in psychology shows that motivation naturally rises and falls, like the weather, like the seasons, like energy. No one stays motivated all the time. Not athletes, not entrepreneurs, not writers, not language learners, not anyone. The difference is not that successful people have more motivation. The difference is that they have systems. A motivated person works when they feel like it. A consistent person works whether they feel like it or not. And that changes everything. Imagine two people. Both want to get fit. The first person waits until they feel motivated. The second person follows a simple routine every day. After a few weeks, motivation begins to fade. Life becomes busy, energy drops, stress appears. The first person stops. The second person continues. Not because they feel inspired, because a habit already exists, because the system carries them forward. This is one of the most important lessons you can learn. Motivation gets you started. Systems keep you going. If you rely on motivation, your progress will always depend on your mood. But if you build systems, your progress becomes automatic. Think about brushing your teeth. Most days, you do not feel motivated to brush your teeth. You simply do it. It became part of your identity, part of your routine, part of your life. The goal is not to become more motivated. The goal is to make important actions as automatic as brushing your teeth. Because consistency is not about feeling inspired. Consistency is about reducing the number of decisions you need to make. The fewer decisions you need to make, the easier it becomes to stay on track. And this leads to a powerful realization. You do not need to win every day. You only need to keep showing up, even when you are tired, even when progress feels slow, even when motivation disappears. Because the people who achieve extraordinary results are rarely the most motivated. They are the most consistent. And consistency begins the moment you stop asking, "How do I stay motivated?" and start asking, "How do I make this easier to repeat?" Because repetition creates habits. Habits create systems. And systems create results. In the next chapter, we'll explore one of the simplest and most powerful techniques ever discovered for building consistency. A strategy so small that it almost sounds too easy. Yet it has helped millions of people start habits that once felt impossible. The 2-minute rule. Chapter 2. The 2-minute rule. Imagine this. You decide that starting tomorrow, you're going to exercise every day. You create a plan, you set a goal, you feel excited, motivated, ready for change. Then tomorrow arrives, and suddenly your brain starts negotiating. Maybe later, maybe after work, maybe when I have more energy, maybe when I have more time. Sound familiar? This happens because starting is often the hardest part. Not the workout, not the study session, not the habit itself, the beginning. Psychologists call this activation energy, the energy required to start a task. And the larger the task feels, the more resistance your brain creates. This is why so many habits fail before they even begin. People focus on the size of the goal instead of the size of the first step. This is where the 2-minute rule becomes powerful. The idea is simple. When you want to build a new habit, scale it down until it takes less than 2 minutes to begin. Not exercise for an hour. Put on your workout shoes, not read an entire book. Read 1 page, not study English for 90 minutes. Open the lesson, not meditate for 30 minutes. Sit down and take 1 conscious breath. At first, this sounds almost too easy, and that's exactly the point. Most people fail because they make habits too difficult. The 2-minute rule removes resistance. It makes starting so easy that your brain has very little reason to say no. Think of it this way. You are not trying to build the habit of exercising. You are trying to build the habit of becoming the kind of person who exercises. You are not trying to read 100 books. You are trying to become a reader. You are not trying to learn English overnight. You are trying to become someone who practices English consistently. The habit always begins with the smallest possible action, because success is not about intensity. Success is about repetition. Let's imagine 2 different people. The first person decides to exercise for 1 hour every day. The second person decides to put on workout clothes and do 1 minute of movement. Which person is more likely to succeed after 30 days? Most people assume it's the first, but often it's the second. Because consistency beats ambition when ambition is unrealistic. The second person builds trust with themselves, trust that they can show up, trust that they can keep promises, and over time, something interesting happens. 1 minute becomes 5, 5 becomes 10, 10 becomes 30. Not because they forced it, because momentum naturally grows. And momentum is one of the most powerful forces in human behavior. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates motivation. This is important because most people believe the opposite. They think motivation to action. But in reality, it often works like this. Action to motivation. You start first, then motivation follows. You move first, then energy follows. You show up first, then confidence follows. Waiting to feel motivated is like waiting for a car to move before turning on the engine. The movement comes after the start, not before. This principle applies to almost every area of life. Want to write? Write 1 sentence. Want to learn a language? Learn 1 phrase. Want to exercise? Do 1 push-up. Want to meditate? Take 1 mindful breath. The goal is not to impress yourself. The goal is to create consistency. Because every time you repeat a behavior, you strengthen a pathway in your brain. The behavior becomes more familiar, more automatic, more natural. Eventually, it becomes part of who you are. And that is where real transformation begins, not with giant changes, with tiny actions repeated long enough. The 2-minute rule teaches us something powerful. Make it easy to start. Because when starting becomes easy, consistency becomes possible. And when consistency becomes possible, growth becomes inevitable. In the next chapter, we'll explore another powerful principle. A principle that can dramatically increase your chances of success without relying on willpower. Instead of changing yourself, you'll learn how to change your environment. Because sometimes the secret to better habits is not becoming stronger. It's becoming smarter. Welcome to Chapter 3. Design your environment. Most people believe that success is a matter of willpower. They believe that disciplined people simply have stronger minds, more self-control, more motivation, more determination. But the truth is often much simpler. The people who stay consistent usually make good habits easier and bad habits harder. They design their environment. Think about this. Imagine there is a bowl of fresh fruit sitting on your kitchen table. Every time you walk by, you see it. Without thinking, you're more likely to eat it. Now imagine the fruit is hidden in the back of the refrigerator, behind several containers, out of sight, out of mind. Nothing about your motivation changed, only the environment changed. Yet your behavior changed too. This happens because human behavior is heavily influenced by what we see around us. Your environment is constantly shaping your decisions, often without you realizing it. The books on your desk, the apps on your phone, the food in your kitchen, the people around you, the habits you repeat. Everything sends signals. Everything influences choices. This is why relying only on willpower is exhausting. Imagine trying to eat healthy while keeping junk food everywhere. Imagine trying to focus while your phone constantly demands attention. Imagine trying to practice English while never creating a space for learning. You're forcing yourself to swim against the current. And eventually, most people get tired. Instead of fighting your environment, improve it. Let's say you want to read more. Don't wait for motivation. Put a book on your pillow. Put a book on your desk. Put a book where you can see it. Make reading obvious. Want to exercise more? Place your workout clothes where you see them every morning. Prepare them the night before. Reduce friction. Want to practice English daily? Keep your learning app on the first screen of your phone. Remove distractions from that screen. Make the desired action easier than the alternative. Small changes, huge impact. Behavioral scientists often say, what is obvious gets done, and what is hidden gets forgotten. This principle works in reverse, too. If you want to reduce a bad habit, make it harder. Make it inconvenient. Create friction. Want less social media? Log out after every session. Remove unnecessary notifications. Move the app off your home screen. Want fewer unhealthy snacks? Don't keep them within reach. Don't make temptation easy. Every extra step matters. Because every extra step gives your brain time to make a better decision. The goal is not to become a superhero. The goal is to create an environment where good decisions happen naturally. An environment that supports your future self. Think about the people who consistently achieve their goals. Many of them are not relying on motivation. They are relying on systems. And one of the most powerful systems is environment design. Because when your environment works for you, discipline becomes easier. And when discipline becomes easier, consistency becomes more likely. Let's imagine two people. The first depends entirely on self-control. The second designs their environment carefully. Who do you think has a better chance of staying consistent after 6 months? Usually, it's the second person, because they are not fighting temptation every day. They are reducing temptation before it appears. This is an important shift. Stop asking, how can I become more disciplined? Start asking, how can I make good habits easier? That question changes everything, because success often depends less on effort than on design, less on motivation than on preparation, less on strength than on strategy. And the best part? You can start today. One small change, one small adjustment, one small improvement to your environment. And over time, those small improvements begin shaping your behavior automatically. Just as a gardener prepares the soil before planting seeds, you can prepare your environment before building habits. Because the right environment doesn't guarantee success, but it makes success much more likely. And consistency becomes much easier when the path is clear. In the next chapter, we'll explore one of the most powerful mindset shifts in behavior change. A shift that separates temporary improvement from lasting transformation. The difference between what you do and who you believe you are. Welcome to Chapter 4, Identity Beats Motivation. Imagine two people trying to build the exact same habit. Both want to exercise regularly. Both have similar goals. Both have access to the same information. Yet, after a few months, one succeeds and the other quits. Why? The answer often has nothing to do with motivation and everything to do with identity. The first person says, "I'm trying to exercise." The second person says, "I'm becoming someone who takes care of my health." At first, the difference seems small, just a few words. But those words shape behavior in powerful ways. Because every action you take is connected to the story you tell yourself about who you are. Think about it. A person who believes they are a reader naturally reads. A person who believes they are a learner naturally learns. A person who believes they are healthy naturally makes healthier choices. Not every time, not perfectly, but consistently. This is why identity is so powerful. Most people focus on outcomes. They focus on losing weight, learning English, saving money, getting a better job. There is nothing wrong with goals. Goals give direction. But goals alone rarely create lasting change. Because once the excitement fades, behavior returns to identity. You can set a goal to run a marathon. But if deep down you believe, "I'm not an athletic person," your behavior will eventually reflect that belief. You can set a goal to improve your English. But if you keep telling yourself, "I'm bad at languages," your actions will often follow that story. Your identity acts like a compass. It quietly guides your decisions every day, whether you realize it or not. The good news is that identities are not fixed. They are built, and they are built through evidence. Every action you take becomes a vote for the type of person you want to become. Read one page, a vote for becoming a reader. Practice English for 5 minutes, a vote for becoming a language learner. Go for a short walk, a vote for becoming a healthy person. Keep a promise to yourself, a vote for becoming someone you can trust. The action itself may seem small, but the identity it reinforces is powerful. This is why small habits matter so much. They are not just producing results, they are producing evidence. Evidence that supports a new story, a new belief, a new identity. Let's say you miss one workout. Does that make you unhealthy? No, of course not. One action does not define you, but repeated actions begin to shape identity over time. Every habit is like a vote, and identities are formed by the votes you cast most often. Notice something important. You do not need to be perfect. You only need enough votes moving in the right direction. This changes everything, because many people quit after making a mistake. They miss one day, they break their routine, they lose momentum, and they conclude, "I failed." But successful people see it differently. They understand that one missed day is just one vote. It does not erase all the previous votes. It does not erase the person they are becoming. They simply return to the habit. They keep voting. They keep reinforcing the identity. Over time, the evidence becomes impossible to ignore. The person who reads every day becomes a reader. The person who trains consistently becomes fit. The person who practices English regularly becomes fluent, not overnight, not through motivation alone, through repeated evidence, through identity. So instead of asking, what do I want to achieve? Try asking, who do I want to become? Because that question changes your focus from outcomes to identity, from short-term motivation to long-term transformation. The next time you face resistance, the next time you don't feel motivated, ask yourself, what would the person I want to become do right now? Then do that, even if it's small, especially if it's small, because every action is a vote, and every vote matters. In the next chapter, we'll learn one of the simplest rules used by highly consistent people. A rule that prevents small mistakes from becoming complete failure. A rule that can save your habits when life gets busy. Welcome to Chapter 5. Never miss twice. No matter how motivated you are, no matter how good your system is, no matter how strong your habits become, life will eventually interrupt your plans. You will get busy, you will get tired, you will have difficult days. Unexpected problems will appear, and at some point, you will miss a habit. This is normal. In fact, it is unavoidable. The problem is not missing once. The problem is what happens next. Many people believe consistency means perfection. They imagine successful people never skip workouts, never miss study sessions, never break routines. But that's not reality. Consistency is not perfection. Consistency is recovery. The most successful people are not the ones who never fall off track. They are the ones who return quickly. This is where one simple rule can completely change your results. Never miss twice. The rule is simple. Miss one day if you have to, but never miss the next opportunity. Skip one workout? Do the next one. Miss one day of reading? Read tomorrow. Forget to practice English? Practice the following day. One missed day is an accident. 2 missed days can become the beginning of a new habit, and habits work in both directions. Good habits grow through repetition. Bad habits grow through repetition too. Think about a plane flying across the ocean. A tiny change in direction doesn't seem important at first, but over time, that small change can lead to a completely different destination. Your habits work the same way. One missed day rarely changes your future, but repeated missed days begin moving you in a different direction. This is why returning quickly matters so much. Many people make a mistake after missing a habit. They feel guilty, disappointed, frustrated, and instead of restarting immediately, they wait. I'll start again next week. I'll start on Monday. I'll start when life calms down. But the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to restart. Momentum begins to disappear. The habit begins to weaken. The identity begins to fade. This is why highly consistent people focus on returning, not perfection. They understand that mistakes are part of the process. Missing once doesn't make you a failure. It makes you human. What matters is your response. Let's imagine someone who has exercised consistently for 6 months. One day, they get sick and miss a workout. Did they lose 6 months of progress? Of course not. Their identity hasn't changed. Their system hasn't disappeared. Their habits still exist. They simply return when they can. This mindset removes a huge amount of pressure, because pressure often causes people to quit. They believe they must be perfect. And when perfection becomes impossible, they stop completely. But progress has never required perfection. Progress requires persistence. A single healthy meal won't transform your body. A single workout won't transform your fitness. A single study session won't make you fluent. And a single mistake won't ruin your progress. What matters is the pattern. What matters is the trend. What matters is the direction. The goal is not to win every day. The goal is to keep moving forward over time. Some days will be great. Some days will be average. Some days will feel difficult. All of those days count. Because consistency is measured across months and years, not moments. This is why successful people forgive themselves quickly. Not because they don't care, because they understand the bigger picture. They know one bad day doesn't define them. One mistake doesn't erase their identity. One setback doesn't erase their future. They simply return again and again and again. This ability to return may be one of the most important skills you can develop, because motivation comes and goes. Life becomes unpredictable. Challenges appear, but the ability to restart will always be available. Every morning offers a new opportunity. Every day offers another vote. Every choice offers another chance to become the person you want to be. So if you've fallen behind, if you've lost momentum, if you've broken a habit, remember this. You do not need a perfect comeback. You only need the next step, the next workout, the next page, the next lesson, the next healthy choice, the next vote. Because success is not built by never falling. It is built by always getting back up. And the people who achieve extraordinary results are rarely perfect. They are simply very good at returning. In the next chapter, we'll explore a powerful strategy that makes consistency easier and more rewarding. A strategy that helps your brain see progress. Because what gets measured gets improved. Welcome to Chapter 6. Track your wins. Imagine trying to drive across the country with no map, no signs, no directions, no indication that you're moving closer to your destination. How long would you stay motivated? Probably not very long. Yet this is exactly how many people approach personal growth. They work hard. They try to build habits. They make positive changes, but they never track their progress. As a result, they often feel stuck, even when they are improving. This happens because the human brain is not very good at noticing slow progress. We notice dramatic change. We notice sudden results. But gradual improvement often goes unnoticed. This can create a dangerous illusion, the illusion that nothing is happening, when in reality, progress is taking place every day. Think about a tree growing. If you stare at it for an hour, it appears unchanged. If you stare at it for a day, it still looks the same. But after a year, the difference is impossible to ignore. Personal growth works the same way. The challenge is that most people quit before they can see the growth. This is where tracking becomes powerful, because tracking allows you to see what your eyes would normally miss. It creates evidence, proof that your efforts matter, proof that your habits are working, proof that you are moving forward. And when people see progress, they become more likely to continue. This is known as the progress principle. One of the strongest sources of motivation is seeing yourself improve, not perfection. Progress, even small progress. Let's say your goal is to learn English. If you simply study every day without tracking anything, some days may feel discouraging. You might think, I'm not improving. I still make mistakes. I'm not fluent yet. But imagine keeping a simple record, the number of days you practiced, the number of new words you learned, the number of lessons completed. Suddenly, the story changes. Now you can see the evidence. Now you can see growth. Now you can see momentum. The same principle applies to fitness, reading, meditation, saving money, building a business, any habit. Tracking transforms invisible progress into visible progress. And visible progress creates confidence. One of the simplest ways to do this is through habit tracking. A calendar, a notebook, an app, anything that allows you to record your consistency. Each day you complete the habit, mark it. That's it. Simple, but surprisingly powerful, because every mark becomes proof. Proof that you showed up. Proof that you kept your promise. Proof that your new identity is becoming real. Over time, something interesting happens. You begin building a streak. 1 day becomes 2, 2 becomes 5, 5 becomes 10, 10 becomes 30. And once people see that streak growing, they naturally want to protect it. Not because they are forced to, because the progress feels valuable, because the evidence feels meaningful, because success begins to feel real. But there is another benefit to tracking. It helps you focus on what you can control. Many goals depend on factors outside your control. You cannot control exactly when you'll become fluent. You cannot control exactly when you'll lose weight. You cannot control exactly when success arrives. But you can control today's actions, today's workout, today's practice session, today's page, today's vote. Tracking shifts your attention away from distant outcomes and toward daily behaviors. And daily behaviors are where real change happens. This is why many successful people measure effort before they measure results, because effort comes first. Results follow. Imagine planting seeds in a garden. Every day you water them. Every day you care for them. Every day you show up. You may not see growth immediately, but if you track the days you cared for the garden, you know the work is being done. You know progress is happening beneath the surface, and eventually, the results appear. The same is true for your habits. Every day you show up matters. Every vote matters. Every small action matters. And when you track those actions, you create a powerful reminder. You are becoming the person you set out to become. 1 day at a time, 1 habit at a time, 1 win at a time. In the next chapter, we'll bring everything together. We'll explore why small daily actions are far more powerful than occasional bursts of motivation. Because extraordinary results rarely come from extraordinary effort. They come from ordinary actions repeated consistently. Welcome to the final chapter, the power of small daily actions. As we reach the final chapter, let's return to the question that started this journey. How do you stay consistent when you don't feel motivated? By now, you've learned something important. The answer is not more motivation. The answer is building a system that works even when motivation disappears. Because motivation comes and goes, but habits can stay, systems can stay, identity can stay. Let's imagine 2 people. The first person works incredibly hard for 1 week. They exercise every day, study for hours, wake up early, push themselves to the limit. Then they burn out and stop. The second person does something much less impressive. They exercise for 20 minutes, read 10 pages, practice a little every day, week after week, month after month, year after year. Which person achieves more? Almost always the second, because consistency beats intensity, especially over long periods of time. This is one of the biggest misunderstandings in personal growth. People overestimate what they can do in a month and underestimate what they can do in a year. Small actions seem insignificant in the moment. A single workout doesn't transform your body. A single lesson doesn't make you fluent. A single page doesn't make you knowledgeable. A single healthy meal doesn't change your health. But that's not how transformation works. Transformation is cumulative. Every small action adds something. A little strength, a little knowledge, a little confidence, a little discipline. And over time, those small improvements begin to compound. Think about saving money. If you save a small amount once, it doesn't seem important. But if you continue saving consistently, the results become significant. Habits work the same way. Every positive action is an investment in your future self. And just like investments, the biggest rewards often come later. This is why patience matters, because the greatest results are often delayed. People want immediate change, immediate success, immediate transformation. But nature teaches a different lesson. A tree does not become tall overnight. A river does not carve a canyon in a day. A muscle does not become strong after one workout. Everything meaningful takes time. Everything meaningful grows gradually. The challenge is trusting the process long enough to see the results. And that's where most people struggle. They stop too early, not because the system failed, because they expected faster results. But imagine, what could happen if you stayed consistent for a year? Imagine practicing English every day, reading every day, exercising every day, learning every day. Not perfectly, consistently. How different would your life look? The answer is probably far more than you think, because consistency creates momentum. Momentum creates growth. Growth creates confidence. And confidence makes consistency even easier. This creates a positive cycle, a cycle that becomes stronger over time. The beautiful thing about consistency is that it doesn't require perfection. It only requires persistence. You don't need to win every day. You don't need to feel motivated every day. You don't need to have perfect conditions every day. You simply need to keep showing up again and again and again. That is how habits are built. That is how goals are achieved. That is how lives are changed, one action at a time, one choice at a time, one day at a time. So as we finish this journey, remember these lessons. Motivation is helpful, but it is not enough. Start small, make habits easy, design your environment, build an identity. Never miss twice, track your wins, trust small daily actions. These principles may seem simple, but simple does not mean weak. Simple actions repeated consistently can change the course of an entire life. And perhaps that is the most important lesson of all. You do not need a dramatic breakthrough. You do not need a perfect plan. You do not need endless motivation. You only need the willingness to take the next step, the next workout, the next page, the next lesson, the next healthy choice, the next vote. Because every action matters, every habit matters, every day matters, and your future is being shaped by what you repeatedly do today, not occasionally, repeatedly. Take a moment to think about one habit you'd like to improve. Just one, not 10, not 20, one. Now ask yourself, what is the smallest action I could take today? Not tomorrow, today. Start there. Keep it simple, keep it repeatable, and trust the process, because extraordinary results are rarely created by extraordinary effort. They are created by ordinary actions repeated consistently. day after day, month after month, year after year. And one day, you'll look back and realize something remarkable. The small things were never small. They were building your future all along. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this episode helped you see consistency differently, remember to like, subscribe, and come back for the next one. Until next time, keep showing up, keep growing, and remember, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Build better systems, and better results will follow. The real shift is not learning how to feel motivated all the time. The real shift is learning how to move without waiting for motivation to arrive. Start small, repeat often. Design your environment, protect your identity. Return quickly after mistakes. Track your wins. Those simple choices are how ordinary days become an extraordinary life. If you are ready, take one small step today and let that be enough to begin